And finally, one of the experts shows up. Too little, too late from Pastor Cal, but finally he made an appearance. We're still short two other experts, but finally, nice to at least see one person try to help these couples, especially after a lot of the crisis that we've seen, particularly in Chris and Paige. Like this couple, it's just painful to watch. It's at the point it's absolutely painful to watch. And it's getting hard to watch them interact on screen. It's getting hard to just watch Chris exist on this show. Like he just needs to be gone. He needs to just not be a part of things. He's a total disaster, and I really want to quit hearing people making excuses for him because he is the problem here. He's 100% the problem. He is absolutely the root and cause of every single problem that's going on with Chris and Paige. Like, honestly, we don't even really know much about Paige. Like, think about that. They have dominated the screen time all season long. And, like, what do we know about Paige? Like, all I know is she's religious. That's like the only thing I know about her. Just wild. But anyways, let's get into what actually happened with them this episode. And of course, we started with a absolute D-bag move by Chris when they're flying home from their honeymoon, and all of a sudden he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go to Chicago. See ya." It's like, what? It's like, yeah, more red flags. It's not that Paige hasn't seen the red flags. It's that this relationship has been entirely red flags. There aren't one or two things that Chris has done wrong that were red flags. It's everything. Every single thing. Like no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Exclusively red flags. When they finally sat down with Pastor Cal, or Paige at least sat down with Pastor Cal, I felt like he should have apologized to her. He should have apologized for having put her in that situation, for having made that match. And I was a little disappointed not to hear that because I think it's more than warranted in this situation. We even heard Pastor Cal say directly that he was not rooting for that couple. In all his years, he said you never don't root for a couple, but this is a situation where you're not rooting for a couple. And like, we're not even 2 weeks in, not even 2 weeks into the relationship. Then finally, Chris shows up. He's got the audacity to walk into the interview with Pastor Cal, the session with Pastor Cal, whatever you want to call it. And the biggest takeaway I had from him was Chris laughing or covering up his laughs when talking about sex. Like he thinks it's funny that he was forcing Paige to have sex with him. That's the kind of man we're dealing with. He thinks that's a joke. And to me, just disgusting. I have no time for it. And wish that production would just quit giving him the time of day. Cut him off, done, canceled, over. If you got to pay him out for not being on the episodes, fine. Just get him gone because he's a toxic person who is absolutely a disaster and is going to cause Paige nothing but trouble. So Chris has decided that he's in love with his ex, something that he told Paige last week, and that now he's going to go and be with her and raise their child together. So, you know what? Overall, I have no problem with Chris making that decision. I think that's totally fine for him to make that decision. The thing I have the problem with is the way he treated Paige through all of this and after Pastor Cal left, it was excruciating watching Chris lure Paige back in, and Paige has fallen for it. Paige has already fallen for it. She's left that door open when that door needs to just be taken away from Paige. Paige needs to be moved to a different area code and just totally away from Chris. Just eliminate it. Don't even make it a possibility. Just end this. All right. Let's leave that there. I know that they're going to be back again. We're in the preview with the ex. Apparently she wanted her 15 minutes of fame as well, which, that could be what this is all about. But let's just drop that and move on to our other couples. Haley and Jacob. I feel like in most other seasons, they'd be like a headline couple at this point. They had an absolute meltdown. The timeline, in my opinion, is they had sex. All of a sudden, Haley wanted nothing to do with Jacob. Haley started lying and avoiding Jacob. Then Jacob rabbit holed, started making up lies about Haley. They blew up, had this huge explosion, and now are trying to pick up the pieces. It was just kind of crazy to watch everything go down. Like finding out that Jacob was accusing Haley of having a secret boyfriend back home, just based on nothing. Based on like one behavior that he saw, which was Haley lying to him. And he just jumped to that conclusion, which was, it was not a good look for Jacob. And, things shouldn't have gone that way, shouldn't have gone that far, but they did. They blew up. And I'm actually pretty impressed that they're at least semi-attempting to bury the hatchet and move forward. I thought their session with Pastor Cal was probably the most productive out of any couple this season, and I thought it was really beneficial to both of them. I don't think that this couple is going to make it long term, but getting that support seems like it is a huge benefit to them moving forward. So, at least this gives them a possibility of working out. Next couple, Clara and Ryan. I don't have a ton to say about them this week. They seem pretty good. They seem pretty solid. Their big standout moment for me this episode was Ryan opening his kitchen cupboards. He's put on this appearance that he's this prim and proper, likes things this certain way, and then he opened that cupboard and you see that he's just hiding the disaster behind the doors. Hopefully that doesn't carry into how he conducts himself as a person, because that could not end well for that couple. The biggest issue looming over them right now seems to be love, and that Ryan's never felt that before. He's never said those words, and seems to me like he's a little bit scared of taking that step. The conversation with Pastor Cal seemed to at least start pushing him forward in that direction. And also, I was a little surprised to hear that they hadn't consummated their relationship with her yet. I just kind of assumed that they had, but anyways, I think they will in the near future, so not too worried about that. Brianna and Vincent, we kind of got cliffhangered with them today. I was kind of making my notes and pointing out how Vincent kind of seems like the person who bottles things up and then blows up. And then what happens at the end of the episode? Vincent bottles things up and blows up. And it seemed like it was over a minor issue, but this is something we've seen more than once already this season for Vincent. He really just does not like to be talked down to. In this situation, it was, Brianna saying something like, "Oh, you pulled a Vincent," and it was in relation to him doing something stupid or something, making a mistake, and he took offense to that. And you know what? It's totally fine for Vincent to take offense to that, but he needs to communicate with Brianna better. That whole situation can be very minor if he addresses it immediately and says, you know what, I don't like what you just said to me, or however he phrases it. And, doesn't have to be a huge fight and doesn't have to end with him storming out, but he kind of bottled it up, and Brianna tried to force it out of him, and next thing you know, he's mad, he's pissed off, talking about how she's disrespecting him, and he's gone. So very much a switch got flipped there. Vincent got pushed too far, even though it didn't look like a huge push. It's something that for him he's not comfortable with, he's not okay with, he doesn't handle well, and we saw the aftermath of that. So I don't know how I feel about this couple at the end of this episode. They were my favorite couple going into the episode. They probably still are, but things aren't looking all rosy for them at the moment. Okay, lastly, we have Eric and Virginia. This was probably their least amount of screen time all season long. Virginia, she wasn't getting smashed nonstop, so I guess when she's not drunk, this couple just isn't that interesting for the cameras. That we really just got their tours of their homes, and it felt like that was it. Like, that's all I really remember is like we saw Eric's place. I was like, yeah, this place is all right. We saw Virginia's place, and I was like, yeah, this place is all right. We saw some dogs, we saw some pictures, and that was it. The only thing that I need to point out for them is the way Eric talks to Virginia is horrendous, and I really didn't like when Pastor Cal didn't seem to pick up on it. He didn't seem to address it. They're addressing that Virginia needs to make these changes in her life and accommodate for being married and in this relationship, but totally just skipped over Eric just laying down the rules of the land. And I felt that was a missed opportunity for something to really change for them. And without that change, with Eric just kind of continually acting like he's superior to Virginia, it's just going to eat away at that relationship until there's nothing left. So still not super excited about them as a couple, and honestly don't really know where they're going to end up in the long term. So yeah, I'm going to wrap things up there for this week. Once again, 90% Chris show and 10% the 9 other people on the show. So hopefully that can be corrected in the near future moving forward, because I would really like to start getting a closer look at these other 4 couples, the other 4 couples that still have a chance to make it, and stop focusing and stop giving the spotlight to this really just horrible, toxic person. I'm over it. No more excuses for Chris. He's done. It's over. He's trash, and let's get rid of him and move on with our lives. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next week, we'll see you later.